He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
And we are back. And Jan is back from Europe. Look.
I'm back.
Angry Mortgage.
Mean mortgage muggin.
Jan has returned from her holidays.
Yes.
And I think there were a couple of comments about, it must be nice. Okay, well...
people think I can't buy a home because I'm going on vacation, and that's okay. They don't know my finances.
Look, it's
that's fine.
It's fine. Okay, well, all right.
It was great.
Tell us about Europe. What happened? What'd you like the best? What was the best?
Italy. Italy was beautiful. The food was great. The cobblestones ruined my luggage. It was full experience. Okay. But it was lovely. Every country I went to, absolutely loved. It was a lot of traveling though. But that's the joy in it, right? Like you wake up in one country, go to sleep in another.
It's exciting.
Like, it's so exciting. Yeah. So exciting. Yeah.
We had you were in Malta, and we had like a Malta scandal on one of our podcasts.
Really?
Yeah, because I talked, it turns out when I said that you were going to Malta, the gentleman, Rob Campbell, who was on the podcast with me, said, yeah, I'm half Maltese. My mom is from Malta.
Nice.
And I said, that's great. So your mom was also your dad's sister, right? I mean, like, because that's how Malta goes, right?
Ronald.
Like, I did say that. Like, I said it was. Yeah, and then we got a big thing in the comments. We got a big thing in the, because basically Malta's the Appalachia of Europe. But anyway, and now the crazy part. I'll give you the crazy part. So after that little blow up about Malta, like I'm at a conference, a couple of conferences I've been at, but after that thing about Malta, woman walks up to me and says, because who I know a bit, I knew her a bit, and she says, hey, you might not know this, but I'm Maltese. And I think, oh shit, I'm in trouble now. Okay. And she said, and I'm going to tell you something, Ron. You are so right.
Oh my God.
She said, we're the most inbred people in the world. I came here to get out of the gene pool. Like my husband's like from a whole other place in the world. Okay, so I can have normal kids. She said.
Stop it.
Then she said, a common name in Malta is Borge. It's Borge, and Borge is actually a name about what that really means in Maltese is sailor got off the boat, fucked one of the local girls, and we've got a better gene pool now. That's what that name means. They're all called Borge, like from the sea or something.
Yeah.
And then another Maltese man said, hey, I heard what you said. Pretty true.
Oh my God.
All right, so enough of this Malta bashing. But we love you Maltese people. But anyway, you spent like 12 hours in Malta, right?
It was just like we got there in the morning, overnight, and then just caught a flight to Paris the next day. Yeah.
What did you think of Paris? What do you think of Paris?
I left Paris early.
You left Paris early? Why? Why did you leave Paris early?
Okay, so I was going to catch a train at 9, but I caught the train at 7 because we realized
Paris not for you?
We're not smokers, so we were very nauseous walking around because the whole point of us was to like walk everywhere. Paris is not exactly walkable, but we tried. And we had to pull over because we were nauseous from all the smoking because everybody and their mother has a cigarette in their hand. Narrow streets, you're walking in front, behind, beside smokers. So that part was hard. And then we were going to catch dinner, but, dinner starts at like 7, 8 o'clock.
Oh, it's late, yeah.
So the 9 o'clock train, we're like, there's no point. So we just went to the Eiffel Tower and we're like, okay, let's go.
Well, you're right. Paris, if you just want to see a couple landmarks, it's not very walkable. And the other thing about Paris, too, is the stuff to see is sort of in a couple of different central areas.
And it's a full day. Like the Louvre itself is like a 6-hour walk.
Oh,
like
the Louvre is wild.
Yeah. Okay? Like so I was like, we don't have time for this. We went outside the Eiffel Tower. We saw the river. And we took an Uber, prayed for our lives with the drivers, and made it back to the train station.
Prayed for our lives with the drivers. Okay.
European drivers are
and then
crazy.
you were in London. Then you went to London.
London, yes. My sister lives there, so I spent more time there, just relaxed. Then we flew to Scotland. Scotland was nice. Went to Edinburgh. And I
Edinburgh
said that right.
is a nice town. It's everybody says it's good. Everybody says the food's good. Everybody says it's kind of, got the Edinburgh Castle there, and like it's kind of picturesque.
I liked, preferably, I did the Highlands last time I went to Scotland. So the Highlands were like, nature's my thing. So like, I absolutely loved seeing like the goats and all that stuff. I went to Loch Ness, but yeah, it was nice. It was a great trip. I got sick from it, but
what? Oh yeah. Yeah. Everybody gets a cold from that. If you're on 4 planes, you're gonna get a cold.
I took 7 flights in one train, so
okay.
I was kind of bound to get sick.
If you're
somewhere.
if you're on 7 flights, you're doomed.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, exactly. But yeah,
I'm glad you had a good time. And it's funny, it literally every person who goes to Italy talks about how much they love the food.
Falls in love?
Falls in love with the, particularly
God.
the food. It's a nice, beautiful country. People are nice.
Everything.
But everybody says, God, the food is good there. Jesus.
The coffee, everything. Is so
everything.
Amazing. Everything. And the vibes too. Like everyone's just so lively. Life is just like calm and collective. Like,
well, life is like, we're not worried about work. We're gonna
close from 2 to 5 to take a nap, so we can stay up till 2 a.m.
Yeah, like when we lunch. It's lunch. Okay,
it's lunch,
it could go long.
And then we're passing out from the lunch.
Long. Yeah, it could go long. Yeah,
yeah.
But that's universally true. The times I've been in Italy, you just say to yourself, God, this food is so good. Like it's not even fancy, right? It's just. Like
I did do fine dining in Italy.
Fine dining, yeah.
It was chef's kiss as well.
But it's all just, it's just like the ingredients are good, right?
Yeah.
The base food, the base vegetables, and the pasta is great and everything.
I'm like very delicate to foods that I eat here. I'm like very cautious about what I eat. There I ate everything and I was fine. Not a single thing made me sick. And I was like, it's probably the lack of preservatives.
Well, you're right. Like every time I talk to people from Italy, they say, your pasta here is not right. Our pasta's fine, but your pasta. And the same is true. Everybody tells me, I was in Italy, I ate pasta like crazy, I felt great. Okay, now there is the other secret is you're walking a lot, right?
Oh my God, my average is 20,000 steps a day.
Oh shit.
My thighs hurt for days coming back.
That's 19,000 more steps than I'm doing. God bless. Yeah. All right, well, I'm glad you had a great time. You're back. It's great to have you back. And we're back in mortgage world with Angry Mortgage. So what's the big story of the week? Last week, Trump wins.
Yeah.
A week ago today, Trump wins. Okay. Unexpected. I had a funny, I talked about it on the channel. I did talk about it on the channel. And it was a weird reaction. I said, some people in Canada are upset about it. And I said, there's no point in being upset. It's not our country. It's not our choice. There's no point in being upset. So let's just move on and just work our way through it. It's fine. And which, there was the most comments we've ever had on a video.
Yeah.
All saying, what the fuck's wrong with you? No one's upset. Everybody's happy.
No one's mad.
No one's mad. What's wrong with you? You fucking lefty, commie, fat fuck. Okay, you no, everyone's happy. Everybody I know is happy. Everybody in Canada's happy. And yet I know people who cried. Thousands of people who cried that night, right?
Yeah.
So here's the important lesson. So, it's called confirmation bias. It's called if you believe something and I love Trump.
Wholeheartedly, it'll be true to you.
So everybody loves Trump. And if you don't love Trump, you're lying. Or you're crazy, or there's just you. Nobody else feels that way. So I had a guy tell me that he had to hold on to his, cradle his wife. She was crying so hard when he won. Okay.
Oh.
Lots of people are upset. Okay.
For sure.
You must have heard about people who are upset too.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So by the way, folks, to save us another 300 comments about "fuck you," no one's upset. To save us those comments.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just be clear. Some people were upset. I wasn't upset. I don't even think you were too upset.
I disconnected from the world.
Right.
I came back and I was like, oh shit, the elections.
Something happened.
So
Right.
Don't worry. I was not taking it personally. Again, we don't live in the States, so it doesn't really have a direct effect on us. I have my opinions, you have yours. People may or may not agree. It is what it is.
but have no control over it. It's not our country.
We can't even vote for it.
We did not vote. None of us voted.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and yet, all I said was some people were upset. I didn't say it was a bad thing. I didn't say it was a good thing. I just said some were upset. And for some reason, 300 people needed to say, fuck off. No one's upset. I'm happy. So everybody's happy. That's a very strange psychological fuck up, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, does that make sense? Like, if I feel one way, so everyone needs to feel the same way. And if you don't, fuck you. Okay. Like, that's odd.
Yeah. Except people have their own opinions, their own feelings.
There's a couple of great pieces of analysis came out of that election, which I also think are applicable to Canada. They have the same kind of meaning in Canada. Is the talk was, hey, like, the American economy is good, because that's true, right? Like, I mean, but Americans. Well, let me put it to you this way: compared with Canada, the American economy is great.
It's thriving. Yeah,
it's thriving. There's new businesses opening. Their employment rate is higher than ours, significantly higher. Their stock market's gone through the roof. Their productivity is enormous. It's like 45% better than Canadian productivity. Folks, don't worry about productivity. I'm not suggesting people are lazy in Canada. They're not. It's just that
they have more people.
Well, but they invest in improving stuff. Like what productivity is actually efficiency and invention. Finding new ways to do things that are more efficient. Finding ways, like finding new systems, developing new technologies, inventing things. That's productivity. Okay, and it also has to do with investment, and it also has to do with lower taxes.
Right.
Because if you have very, very high taxes, it's hard to be as productive, right?
For sure.
Like you don't have enough money to put into inventing.
If you're losing half the taxes, of course not.
Capital investment, everything else. You're quite right. That is quite correct. So they have a whole different. Their economy is pretty good, but there's a great line from one of the analysts who said, "Hey, economists can tell you that the economy is great. But if you personally don't think it's great, you're not going to vote like it was great." So when Trump says he's going to make it better, you would vote for him.
Right.
Even if he has other odd qualities, okay? You would still vote for him. You'd say, because let's face it, even though we're telling everyone, and we're telling everybody correctly that the rate of inflation is down, the prices in the stores are not down. So if you haven't got a good enough raise, you feel everything's gone wrong.
You're struggling, yeah.
You're struggling. Okay, exactly right. So I thought that was very wise. He said, economists might think the economy is doing better and is a good economy. But if you're a human being who finds that the price of everything is still higher than you can afford,
right,
you don't think the economy's good.
Of course, yeah.
And when someone shows up and says, I'm going to make it better, you could take the shot.
Yeah.
Like, why not?
Listen, Americans felt like they needed Trump. That's why they voted, right? Yep. At the end of the day, like, they've had the past 4 years under the Biden administration, they felt like things were not going in the way that improved their day-to-day life. So they made a change. That's what democracy is.
Perfect summation. Absolutely.
You have your vote, right?
Perfect summation. That is exactly what happened. And the same, in all likelihood, applies to Canada. Okay? That, I see all the time, like literally every time the Bank of Canada lowers its rate, within 5 minutes, the finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, puts out a tweet that says, our plan is working. Yeah. Our plan is working. Interest rates are coming down. Canadians are doing great. Everything's... No.
But it's like, which Canadians are doing great? Because your average Canadian, I don't think, is exactly thriving with this economy. So
same as the U.S. It's how you feel in your own home that day. Like, when you say, there's no steak for me, like, we got to buy something different. Yeah.
Eating canned beans because we can't do,
or
regular
look
stuff.
At this, a 20% increase in the car insurance. What the fuck are we going to do? Okay. Like, you don't feel great about it. Of course. Because here's the other truth about going through a period of high inflation. It takes wages a long time to catch up.
Oh, 100%.
They don't catch up instantly. So people will feel pissed off And the fact that our government says the same thing all the time, the government in Ottawa says, more work to do, but the plan is going to work. The plan is working. More work to do. Everybody just thinks, fuck off. I make it better now. Like you've been the government for 9 years. Things, COVID was like 3.5 years ago. Okay, like straighten it out now. Why are things going better now? Okay, which is why Trump's the president, right? Just as you said, perfect summation. Okay, so we've had an effect of Trump winning on our mortgage rates. Strange, right?
Yeah.
Guy in another country wins. The president. By the way, he's not even the president till January 20th.
Oh, yeah.
He's just takes time to switch.
Yeah.
So simple explanation is like this. Our fixed rates have bumped up slightly. You don't notice it much because it's just happening now. Like the rate changes are just happening now. And there's still a lot of competitive offers because the banks are fighting for market share.
Banks are definitely fighting. Yeah.
They're fighting. So why? Okay, it's like this. Trump said, the morning after he got elected, he said the whole theme of what I'm going to do is promises made, promises kept. So if I told you that there's going to be tax cuts, there's going to be tax cuts. Now, tax cuts in a country like the U.S. that runs a big financial deficit, if you cut taxes, that means there's even less money coming in, so your deficit expands.
Yeah.
So the people that, and like, let's look at mortgages in the United States. They're priced off of 10 years. So they have like 25 and 30 year mortgages down there, not 5 year and, or 3 year. And that's priced off a 10-year bond. So the 10-year bonds have jumped up in the States because the bond traders reasonably say, well, if this guy's promising tax cuts, deficit gets worse, money printer goes off, inflation comes back, we got to worry about that. Therefore, we need to price it into bonds today if we think there's going to be a bigger deficit from tax cuts. And then that just bleeds over to Canada.
Right.
Like Canada just says, well, it's like the trading in U.S. 10 years is like 300 times the trading in U.S. in Canadian 5 years. Okay, like it's the biggest thing on earth, right? So their bonds are the biggest thing on the planet. So if everybody says, well, if America sneezes, we catch a cold, right? Because they are running this thing.
Yeah.
Their economy just washes over us.
Basically just like sister companies at this point.
Yeah. So you're quite right. So now the thing about it is it's probably temporary. Because who the hell knows? Like he might by the time he finally gets to be president, it's like January. By the time the Congress gets settled in, it's February. By the time he gets to propose actual tax cut legislation, it could be, deeper in the spring. And all of a sudden he might just say, okay, we're just going to pause the tax cuts for this year and we're going to go double next year. Who the fuck knows what he's going to say, okay?
Yeah.
So the bump in Canadian bond yields, which is causing a slight bump in Canadian fixed rates, it could just go away. I mean, there's actually a reasonable chance it's just temporary. So what should we think about that? We should think that it's likely to create this bump over the next 2 months. But if the Canadian economy worsens, and we'll touch on that in a minute, if the Canadian economy continues to decline, and if the Bank of Canada keeps on cutting, by the time we get deeper into next spring, we could easily see some lower rates. Because unless inflation comes back.
Yeah. Whew, that's a scary sentence.
It's a very scary sentence. You're actually right. But look, if it happens, if it doesn't happen, the Bank of Canada will continue to feel the pressure to drop rates. So something also happened it didn't happen when you were away, but it's something that they announced all the reporting on. In Ontario, they announced strong, by the way, when we say strong, we got to remember it's coming off some really weak data.
Yeah.
So a stronger house sales, resale house sales.
Okay, like, I've seen a lot of houses for sale.
Yeah, but there is a big inventory out there, but there was a little bit more action. Okay. The actual sales were up significantly from the previous month, which was bad, and from the summer, which was awful. Really awful. The sales in the summer were terrible, and we're looking at quite a bump. And I'm going to tell you, based on our experiences within our own organization, November is going to be better than last November again. So we're going to see 2 months in a row where we're going to see a bump in house sales in Ontario. And there is definitely the same kind of thing going on in British Columbia. Alberta steady, certainly Quebec steady. So all of a sudden, the two markets that were doing really, really bad are doing a bit better.
Okay.
And the one thing to consider about that is, it is the proof of the age-old truth. Mortgage rates matter.
Yeah.
You get like many cuts in a row from Bank of Canada.
Motivates people to make that jump.
100% right.
For sure.
Okay, so we got let's look at our viewer mail. We've passed our viewer mail for the last 3 weeks, so we got to go back to it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, our honesty, we did.
Okay, this one says, I have a rate from 2023 at 5.89, 5-year fixed, 3.5 years left to go. Now I see a 3.999 or 4.09, and you say variable could get to 3.7. Do I break? Pay penalty of 3 months? The payments are really brutal.
Yeah, if you're at 589, your payments are pretty goddamn
rough,
awful.
yeah.
I mean, because obviously you had a mortgage before that was probably a mortgage that had a 3 in front of it. Then you go to a 5 in front of it. That's very hard. So I think we're going to see more and more of these kind of questions because rates are significantly down from where they were. But your penalty is not 3 months. You know, that's a common mistake that people make with 5-year fixed mortgages. They hear what the person at the bank says the penalty is if they ask. Sometimes they don't ask. But it's 3 months, or, this is the most important or in the mortgage business, interest rate differential. So that's a comparison of penalty to what the rate is today versus your rate. And in the times of falling rates, it can really work against you. So your penalty is not 3 months. By the way, people should look into this. They definitely should look into this, but they may want to wait until there is still even a little bit better rates. Like, the idea is that if you can get a rate below 4, then you can look at your penalty on that at 589. And in the end, that becomes the most important analysis, because people often come to us and say, hey, what do you think my penalty will be?
Yeah.
We have no clue.
Yeah, it can be so, it ranges, right? Depends on
Each bank's calculation of interest rate differential is like off the charts hard. Okay, it's so hard that I know banks who will tell you, by the way, there's a guy trying to sell a class. There's a guy in the Mortgage Brokers Convention who's selling a class and selling a system by which he can pretty much estimate what these penalties are. But I'm not sold on it yet. Like I'll be damned if I'm going to tell my clients, yeah, this thing is foolproof. For sure, this is your penalty, and then it turns out to be bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that
folks,
gets messy.
let's be clear. Only your bank can tell you your penalty. They can only give you an estimate, and they can only give you an estimate based on what's going on that day. Things could change 10 days when they finally get around, or a month when they finish your break.
Yeah.
And transfer to a new lender or something. So, look. I tell you once, somebody came to me once and said they went to their bank branch and they had to argue with them and go back twice, and finally they got a penalty estimate from the bank branch.
Yeah.
And then they went ahead and they did the change. They broke their mortgage. They went with another bank, and when they sat down in their lawyer's office, the penalty was $8,000 higher than what they were told.
Yikes.
And when they phoned the bank, screaming, obviously, and the bank said, yeah, but that was the penalty of that day. It's been 14 days.
Oh.
How the fuck did it change $8,000? Are you crazy?
Yes,
I mean, well, no, that could happen. The truth is the bank made a mistake, okay? But there's so many outs, right? Like, everything they do says that we will give you the penalty on the day we receive the request for the discharge. And that's the only time that the penalty is valid.
Right.
So all the estimates are just bullshit. Okay. So very hard. But folks, yes, the answer to that question is, once you can get real, truthful, good information from your bank about your penalty, any good mortgage broker can show you what the savings are and exactly what it is that's going to happen. Is it going to be worth your while? Generally what happens is the penalty takes about 18 months to pay off or 16 months to pay off. And then all of a sudden, then you're ahead. You're sort of profiting by changing, okay? So yeah, it could work out. And obviously everybody loves a lower payment.
Of course, yeah.
And that will happen.
Okay. This one says, I spoke to my real estate agent. She said it's now or never.
Now or never?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Sales are up 45% in real estate. If I don't buy now, I can never buy again. Prices are going way up. This is true. It's a little aggressive.
Well, look, I mean, I have heard that from so many people.
Now or never?
In the last 2 weeks, yeah. A woman called me, actually this morning, a woman called me and said, my agent said, because I said, look, if I can, because my rent's pretty low. She was talking about, she knew what kind of sort of general house price that she had in mind. And she said, like, we want to buy for a lot of good reasons. But,
right.
But my rent is low. Like, my rent's only $2,100. We're in a decent place.
Yeah.
We could stay here for a while more. It's
Save
another
more.
$2,100 for a while.
Yeah.
And I could put away, then I can keep putting away like $1,500 a month in savings for down payment. And my agent told me, that's pointless.
Oh.
Because the prices will go up so far, your $1,500 a month is pointless. It's pointless. Just buy now, or this is your last chance. I mean, so not just that guy's asking, but this woman this morning told me exactly the same thing. So we got a lot of confirmation that this is out there today because sales are up and rates are down, and the assumption that that will continue just to go off the charts. But here's something interesting. Prices haven't gone up much at all.
Yeah.
Like it looks like for houses, not condos. Condos are in this continual fuckery. Okay, there's unlikely there's going to be too much benefit to condo owners for the next little while. But for people with low-rise houses that are priced right, this woman I was talking to, the house was in like Niagara area. Prices have come off there. They haven't really bounced up yet, so there's some possibilities. But still, for a realtor to say you will never be able to buy a house again if you don't go now, probably that's improper.
Yeah, well, they've probably just had a really rough, I don't even want to say couple of months, couple of years right now in terms of, the market. So I get it that they're, trying to get people to get the flow going, but it's a little bit aggressive, I would say.
I would say lots aggressive. Because, by the way, in October, there was no real increase in prices in Ontario at all. Like, not in low-rise houses. Like certain specific markets, there was a little bump, but some markets not at all. And on average, I think it was under 1% or just at 1%. So certainly not going to the moon. Like 1% is not going to the moon. You made a great point. There's two things are true here. It's been a bad 2 years for real estate agents. Pretty bad. I know there's a bunch of people saying, not for me. I'm a great agent and it's been great for me. Okay, fine, calm down. I mean,
but there's a couple who have had to drift into different career choices.
Yes,
so unfortunately, it's been rough for some of them.
It's been rough. So it has been rough for some real estate agents. And the other true thing is, lower mortgage rates have traditionally produced better activity, which we're seeing, and have produced higher prices. But I constantly come back to this. The thing that's a little different this time is the economy's kind of in the crapper. So it's not exactly the same as all those other times when the economy was really doing well. So we're going to have to sit back and think about that one. But I'm not going to say that real estate prices are never going up again, but the prices in Canada are still pretty much batshit crazy. And the idea that it's going to tell somebody you're never going to be able to buy if you don't buy today. There were some people who were told that in 2021 and they overbid on houses by $200,000. And now they have
a mortgage for God knows how much, and their house is not even worth what they paid.
That is correct. So that's I never like to hear that statement out of anybody, so that's not very good. So we had some economic news last week. The United States Federal Reserve dropped 25 basis points. They dropped their rate as well. Okay, so but we're way ahead of them, right?
Yeah,
like we're outpacing them significantly.
I disconnected from the world, but I did hear we went down 0.5.
Yep.
Did you predict that? I think you predicted that.
I said I thought would happen. I wasn't like all in on it. Like I wasn't like staking my life on it.
Yeah, you weren't putting $10,000 on it.
No, I wasn't putting $10,000 on that. I knew there'd be cuts.
Yeah.
There'll be another cut in December too. We got another meeting December 11th, and there'll be another cut. I'm sort of. There's lots of people talking about 50 basis points again, but here's where we're at. So far, the U.S. has cut 75. Canada's cut 125. So we're getting ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. And there will be another cut. So let's say there's another 25. We'll have cut twice as much as they would have. But you could actually make a case for it because our economy is twice as shitty as theirs.
Yeah. So that would make sense.
So you can make a case.
Yeah.
Another thing we had was, speaking of shitty economies, we had a report from sometimes it's hard for me to talk about the employment numbers because we actually do monthly employment numbers in Canada. And it's useful to look at trends, but it's never accurate. Like, it's a big country, and not everybody reports at the same time. And, you try your best to get the right information, but it wasn't good. Like, for some reason, they keep expecting jobs to grow. Again, we had all these people come to Canada. We have 3 million people come in the last 2 years. So there's always this idea that jobs will grow based on the fact people need to eat, people need transportation, people need stuff, and there's more people. So it didn't, though. Like job growth was very tepid. Again, job growth is only really in government and part-time.
Also, we're going into like the holiday season. It's like Q4. Who's hiring full-time people in Q4? It's like really rare.
It's so rare.
Yeah.
It's so rare.
It's like realistically,
it's an excellent point.
Unless you're getting a seasonal job, like it's not.
Yeah, there are seasonal jobs.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There, which I'm sure is like where a lot of those like rise in numbers are coming from, but it's not that stable, unfortunately.
No, it's not. And I think the trend is clear. There's a lot of sort of side trends and other things that other little indicators that things are not going well. We had some layoffs. We had more layoffs again in banking. Actually, in mortgage banking, we had some layoffs. There was some people let go at a couple of the banks who were actually doing but they were commission people.
Yeah,
but they were the sort of lower commission people who were in commission mortgage salespeople. There was some layoffs at a couple of the banks on those people. Although if you're hardly making any money on commission, I don't know if it's a real layoff or not. It just got you off the medical plan, right?
Yeah.
Got you off the benefits plan. So it's not a big turnaround, obviously, and that is what it is. So the outlook for Canada's economy, as we've talked about multiple times already today, ain't so good. It's just and some people must sit back and listen and say, this fat fuck is always so negative about the economy. Okay, look, all I'm trying to do is report the facts that I see.
Yeah.
And I've started asking this question to colleagues and other people, and I say the same thing every time. What do you see that's going to really push up the Canadian economy? What new industry is coming on? What industry is booming? What new invention do you see? What new growth area do you see in Canada? Are they going to drill for more oil and gas? Are they going to mine for more minerals and metals? I want
to say tech.
Sorry?
I want to say tech.
Sure, but and you would be right, because that is typically that in the United States, that's been a huge driver of growth. Okay, but we don't actually do that here. I mean, here's the thing: they're doing what's called a reshoring in the United States. They're bringing manufacturing things that were previously offshore, back into the States.
Yeah,
and the biggest one that's a big feature is, for years, the making of computer chips was in Taiwan.
Yeah, that caused a shortage. Remember?
There were shortages. That's sort of a supply chain problem, but
it was a COVID thing.
I think it was mostly a COVID thing, but that's changed. The United States government, immediately after COVID, authorized massive subsidies and investments to build these chip fabrication plants. They call them fabs here in North America, in the States. Okay, and some of them are just coming online now because it takes a couple of years to build.
Of course, yeah.
And no, we don't have any of those. None of that in Canada.
After
Look,
hearing this, and then after my trip, like, what am I doing here?
well, look. I mean, but come on. We both love our country.
Of course, I love
Both love our
Canada.
country. We love our country, but at the
But
end
the
of the day,
opportunity here is so rough.
well,
So
like
rough.
you sit back and you see things like that and say, hold on,
Yeah.
they're building chip fabrication plants in the U.S. and what the hell are we building here? Like we've heard about the battery plants, right? There's all that, but so far, what people don't always realize is when there's these announcements from the government, sometimes it doesn't actually turn out the way it's supposed to, right? I mean, like
They need a million meetings before things even get lifted off the ground.
yeah, and then it turns out that Volkswagen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like turns out Volkswagen is like in Germany, they're just going like batshit fucking nuts, and they've had this enormous announcement of something they've never had before. They're having layoffs and they're having wage reductions at Volkswagen in Germany, and they're shutting plants and like because Germany made a huge error. I mean, they were dependent on Russian gas. They shut down all their own energy industries. Like they actually had working, not too old nuclear plants, and their Green Party in Germany forced them to shut them all down. When they shut them all down, their requirement for Russian gas grew. Then the war broke out. Then the gas got fucked up, and now the electricity prices in Germany are like 3 times what ours are. And ours aren't cheap. Okay.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's really fucked up. And their whole car manufacturing program has gotten fucked by electric cars out of China. And, they got issues over there. But boy, I mean, like, so we're building. We signed this big contract with Volkswagen for these battery plants, and now Volkswagen ain't too sure how much they're going to be growing at all. People don't realize it, but we have a huge Ford plant in Ontario.
We do.
Huge.
Yeah.
Oakville plant is huge.
Yeah.
It's been closed for 8 months. It's going to be closed for another 10 months.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Maybe right into 2026 because they're retooling for electric. Okay. But yeah, it's closed. So, the battery story is a great story and everybody likes EVs. It's great.
Yeah.
But sometimes the promises don't turn out to be the real thing.
Life happens. How are they supposed to know the war was going to break out and things are just going to go downhill, right?
Yeah, no, that's quite true.
Yeah.
So one other interesting thing just came up late last week. Another interesting thing came up in our business, in the real estate business. There's a company called Dian Durham. And Dian Durham, almost 2.5 years ago now, bought, and they're just a company that goes out and buys other companies. That's what Dian Durham does. They're sort of they're sort of in the legal business. I'll cut to the chase. They bought a company that does 70% of all of the real estate purchase software for law firms in Canada. Not in Quebec. Quebec's got their own thing.
Yeah.
Okay. But they bought this software platform that basically it's what, like everybody has a platform, right? Like when you go into a restaurant,
they have their own software.
They have software that allows
POS
them.
system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's how you keep track of who's at the tables. That's how you keep track of the food coming out of the tables, everything else. Every company has stuff like that. We have it in the mortgage business. We have a platform that we do the mortgages on. It does everything. It keeps track of the customer. It keeps track of what the status is. It shows us how to, it pulls all the different reports we need, right?
We do everything.
Do everything on it. And they have that it's called Conveyancer in Ontario. And this does all that stuff. It pulls the reports. It does the title searches. It can register on title. It's the software that's used to do the actual transaction in real estate. So when they bought it, they said, okay, we bought this company. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to increase the price of it to the lawyers by 800%.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 8 times. We're just going to raise the price 8 times. Because it was small. It wasn't a big price.
Okay.
But obviously 8 times is fucking crazy, right?
And who's paying for that?
Not really the lawyers. Okay. Because it's just like when the government, when the cities raise taxes for builders, like say we call it development fees. We say, builder's got to pay. The builder got to pay. He needs to pay to build the building. He needs to pay for all of our city costs.
Yeah. Builder's not paying that.
Builder's not paying.
Yeah.
Okay. Like it's the buyer who's paying.
Of course.
So guess what? The lawyer's not paying. Okay. he's taking some, and I remember one old lawyer telling me, hey, you know when this started? When this started, they charged us $22 a time. Like every time we used it, they charged us $22 to use this conveyancer system. Every time we did a sale, buy or sell. Every time we did a deal, they charged us $22 for each deal. So now it's like $380. Okay, like what the fuck?
That's
okay,
ridiculous.
like yeah. So it's not like it got a lot better. Like it's all of a sudden not. It's not eight times better. So the government, the Competition Bureau here in Canada, decided let's open up an action on this because don't seem right.
It's a couple red flags.
Yeah, a couple red flags don't seem fucking right. And aren't you just fucking the people buying and selling the houses? Really? Like, by 8
like
times?
It's not hard enough.
Yeah. So
come on.
I gotta this stuff just gives me a headache, when you see these organizations that, like, do you remember when they did something? Wasn't there something with Epipen a few years ago?
EpiPens are so expensive. My sister uses an EpiPen.
Yeah.
It's like,
but didn't it go like one day it went up like
it was just like
4 times or something?
Yes,
like,
like mad ridiculous. Now I don't even know. I think it's like almost $200.
So, but what it really boils down to is a business person says, "Hey, this is it's kind of a monopoly. This is a monopoly. A little service that has a monopoly in its own area."
Yeah.
So here's my idea. I pay what looks like the right market price for that. I buy that company, but my plan in my head is I'll just run the price through the fucking roof and then I'll make a big profit.
Because I can.
Because here, now everybody said the same thing when they did it. They said, well, the lawyers should just get together themselves and do the software. Well, first of all, I'm going to let you know something about lawyers. They can't agree on what day it is. Okay. Like lawyers are trained to fight. Okay. Yeah. They cannot get together for any sort of business thing at all. Okay. Ever. Not ever, ever, ever. Okay. So one lawyer office, even a big real estate office, can't afford to develop all their own software.
Of course.
Now, some people are trying to do it. It's sort of getting going a little bit, but first of all, nobody could believe it would happen. You get that email. I just want to let you know, changing the price list. It's now 8 times more expensive. What the fuck? As of next Tuesday, as of next Tuesday, it is now this much. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and it takes time, right? Even if you could do it, and again, they can't agree on anything. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, I hate that shit. I absolutely fucking hate it. Which brings us to more hate in our favorite part of the program.
What the actual fuck?
What the actual fuck is going on with the government in Ottawa? We have a minister there. Now, I don't know. This thing hasn't actually been completely proven yet. But I'm so fucking exhausted and tired by news about federal government ministers or federal government contracts or federal government bullshit where there's huge contracts, millions of dollars getting pissed away in every direction. I don't know all the details, but I'm hearing about this $1 million environmental slush fund, like $1 billion, like a couple of $1 billion. Nobody knows where the fucking contracts are going. This is not the first time we've heard about contracts going wild in Ottawa, right?
Similar story.
Yeah. So now we got Minister Randy Bissonnette, okay, from Edmonton, and it looks like somehow his business partner is somehow getting contracts from the government. Like, shouldn't that be against the fucking rules? Like, once you're in government, shouldn't any company you had anything to do with be completely fucking cut off?
Ideally, yes.
I think it's a requirement, right? I mean, like you know,
in a logical sense, of course.
Like, I mean, like people got to know. Like in the States, you got to, if you become a senator, you got to, like, the interesting part is they can still buy stocks. They can all buy stocks back and forth. But they can't actually operate. Anyway, they can't do everything that they want to do. They can't, like, actively keep a company, or they have to declare themselves out of the vote or something. But I just don't like this shit, because apparently the other part of this is that they applied as an indigenous organization, but nobody's indigenous.
Wow.
Like, and now they're trying to say, well, there's another Rand. Maybe there's another Randy in the company who is indigenous, but nobody can find him yet.
Well, they better find him, because that's not right. That's not right.
Look, fuck me. I mean, Here's what I always think about this shit. Whether it's you or me starting a business 30 years ago, or you coming into work every day and toiling away at your work, we never get the fucking chances to dip our fucking noses in the government trough, right? Like, there's no $1 million contracts for us, is there?
Of course not.
No, fuck no. So nothing pisses me off more than finding out somebody in government, particularly if they're saying they're Indigenous and fuck all, nobody there is Indigenous.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're taking advantage in every corner they possibly can.
Every possible way.
Yeah.
Where the average Canadian cannot.
Yeah.
Like, there's very few things make me fucking madder than that shit. So what the actual fuck, Minister Bissonnette? Like, come clean. Like, is there another Randy? Are you the only fucking Randy? Like, what the fuck's going on here, okay?
Yikes.
Like, enough of this shit. Enough of this shit with the federal government. Enough of the mysterious contract bullshit that the federal government plays, okay? Like, how hard is it to stop this fucking bullshit, right? It's fucking nuts, all right? Yeah. No more. Listen to me, you fuckers. No more. Get your noses out of the trough. Enough of this shit. I'm done with you bastards, okay? All right. Next week, we'll see you then.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.